Hello and welcome to the Dirge of Mourning. I am your host, Andrew. Today we'll be looking at Chalice of Suffering's first album, entitled For You I Die, released in 2016. Unfortunately, Terry couldn't be here today, but she will return in the next episode for our end of summer 4-episode review of the works of John Suffering. With that said, I welcome you to the Dirge of Mourning's The Summer of Suffering. A dark and heavy opening for this track is just awesome, as the band sounds extremely on point with their opening. Oh, and by the way, the bass line for this, amazing, just absolutely perfection. Also, inside this intro, we get small pauses. At about the 48-second point, we get the lead guitar coming in with all the weeping sorrow, adding to the overall atmosphere as the drums add a more metal feel. At about the 1 minute and 37-second mark, the synthesizer is as doomy as a graveyard melody should be. I'm just in love with the way the vocal style here is, honestly. It's just full of pain and sadness. The spoken word adds such a dramatic effect at the 3 minute and 6-second mark. The synthesizers and spoken word return with some added guitar, making it more darker than I was expecting. A more doom-laden landscape, in other words, Doom fans of all types can weep to this one. At 4 minutes and 18 seconds, we get a shift in tone. This is more miserable, and god damn that bass line. The agony screams is so on point, mesmerizing even. I'm sorry, it's kind of hard to keep track of what's going on because like I said, it's just mesmerizing. Go and listen to this first track, honestly. At the 5 minute and 6-second mark, we get the creepiest sounding dirge in a funeral doom song ever. Well, as far as I know anyway. The distorted sounds of the spoken word adds to its eeriness as the main doom and gloom comes back. The death growls are like an outer body experience. The synthesizer comes back at 6 minutes and 27 seconds. In an almost similar fashion, the intro returns as well. Little pauses here and there. The drums bring the metal to the funeral doom metal, as the progression is the emotions are deep and expressive, just like the cemetery I walked through as I was writing this. This should go without saying, the rich misery that can only be done in a song like this. Ending comes at 10 minutes and 4 seconds. We start off with a guitar and spoken word as the miserable march of doom leads us into a depressive sound fit for a funeral procession, and that is just the first 2 minutes. The doomy darkness starts to come through, as well as the vocals seem to yet again be in pain, and the use of spoken word is a masterclass in funeral doom. As I feel sometimes bands tend to forget that they could utilize this powerful tool within their music. This track keeps its somber tone as we get a nice guitar part and the death growls, as the band brings the heavy side of suffering. Have I spoken about the bass sound yet? I seem to keep forgetting to mention that this bass sound is just insanely awesome. This brings us to the 5 minute and 9-second mark. We have reached the sadness, a slower, more classical funeralistic style of music with spoken word. One might say this is a eulogy of sorts, while still keeping that metal sound at the 6 minute and 43-second point. We get what, again, most funeral doom fans are most likely here for, the dark and heavy end of a song. And yes, they deliver this experience in every way possible. The song fades out at 9 minutes and 40 seconds. Synthesized styled intro is what starts us off in a dark, almost gothic-esque homage to bands similar to like My Dying Bride. But then the Funeral Doom comes in, reminding us just why we are here. The drumming and guitar work, a fantastic element. Bringing in the death growls is quite possibly just phenomenal. Though I've been calling them death growls, realistically I should probably be calling them spoken growls, or growled spoken word, whichever you prefer. And honestly, fabulous. I think this is the start of something truly awesome, and that I've seen other bands kind of utilise. And that's all within the first 3 minutes and 48 seconds. The standard spoken word comes in, but it seems more intense and emotional, on a more heavier side of the Funeral Doom scale. And yet, again, it's still awesome. I don't know what else to say, guys. And as I say all of this, the doomier elements come up, slowing it down a bit, showcasing the talent of the band at the 5 minute and 21 second mark. We have a more of an old school tone with synthesizers and doom metal. This somehow leads to a guitar part that just turns into just awesomeness. Again, I don't know what else you want me to say here. I'm all alone, so this is the best I got. The drumming gives us a more metal-like sound, again, bringing that metal into the Funeral Doom. Spoken death growls are back to end the song at 7 minutes and 25 seconds. Drum intro until 40 seconds. Then we get the Funeral Doom we all know and mourn over. Piano and spoken word is just a fitting element to what is going on musically, as this atmosphere brings almost a dread and somber tone. It is basically this kind of stuff that just, makes me fall in love with Funeral Doom. Have I mentioned the bass sound? The tuning, the way it's played, all that kind of stuff? No? Well, just listen to how it sounds. It's, again, fantastic. I hope they keep this sound. It's just outstanding. And that's only been about 4 minutes and 42 seconds. The tone shifts as we get a more outer body experience, as all the other elements come in with synthesizers and spoken word, keeping in with the grave digging elements that these guitars and drums seem to be delivering, building up until the 7 minute point. Then out of nowhere, darkness, just utter darkness, hits you in the face. Again, similar to like a gravedigger, just shoveling that dirt, the reality of life. At 7 minutes and 40 seconds with black metal-like anguish of vocals. But then it goes back to the funeral-like death growls and spoken word, as the song comes to an end at 8 minutes and 43 seconds. Piano and drums are the intro, and the eeriness is so welcoming on a fog-filled day. As like I said, I was walking through a cemetery when I wrote most of this. The band comes in with their doomy dirge. Oh, and the death growls are, again, just, so on point, it kind of makes you want to weep. And that's just the first 2 minutes and 26 seconds. Then we get some more of that eeriness back, but the standout here is, again, just, oh my god. Have I spoken about this bass sound? I just cannot get over how awesome it is. And we're only on track 5, by the way. So in case I haven't mentioned it, this bass that this guy plays with this band, top tier shit. The sinister doom-like quality as spoken word comes in, adding to the gloomy mood. This is just perfect for a walk in, again, a foggy cemetery. By the way, it's only been about 4 minutes and 6 seconds within the song. The tone shifts to funeral doom, and again, I'm just in love with the idea of this band pushing the experimental side of funeral-styled music. For example, we have a mix of different vocal styles, death growls, the black metal type vocals, and spoken word, until the 6 minute and 19 seconds, when we experience the eulogy part of the song. Then, at 6 minutes and 48 seconds, the band comes back in all of its miserable talent, expressing perfectly all the dark and macabre of the grave, ending at 9 minutes and 2 seconds. An instrumental fit for a Gaelic or Gaelic funeral somewhere in both Ireland and Scotland. This is how you use traditional music within funeral doom. And though I may not be an Irishman, I can tell you as a Scotsman, I could stand and weep along to this one. As it fades into rain, the track lasting only 2 minutes and 40 seconds. Funeral flute music is how we're going to start this one off, with some ambient sounds in the background lasting until about 58 seconds. Then the funeral takes place. Every element you could possibly want in funeral doom is in this first 3 minutes. Then spoken word. In fact, like I've said before, this might be the start of something incredibly new, and I'll explain later. But around the 5-minute mark, we get the funeral and eulogy parts in English and in Gaelic, lasting until 9 minutes. Then the band comes back with the doom and gloom. A sense of mourning can be heard in the vocals, this sadness lasting until 11 minutes and 37 seconds. Then the music fades to a more ambient one that ends the song at 13 minutes and 9 seconds. Eerie crackling of a record player and the atmospheric music as if it's a haunted graveyard inside the minds of the band until 3 minutes and 7 seconds. Death growls and funeral doom are something that just hits right in our darkest moments, and this song gets that with the different effects on the instruments, and it's honestly a welcoming addition as the spoken word hits in a unique way with this. It is full of doom and sorrow. At 6 minutes and 10 seconds, imagine, if you will, a candle at a grave as you watch it flicker. This is what I would imagine it sounds like, and that's only the first 7 minutes and 52 seconds. The spoken word returns in a build-up that can only be described as the anticipation of a coffin being lowered, but then it hits the ground. At 8 minutes and 56 minutes, the music comes in with a relentless element of void-like realism, as if the words from Nietzsche have been translated into music. And I just love the vocal effects as this track ends at 11 minutes and 21 seconds. Eerie and miserable, pushing the boundaries of funeral doom in terms of experimentation, with sounds that describe the human experience and sorrow. The music is extremely well put together, and this is just the start of this doomy journey. Darkness. I'm going to start by reading the lyrics that I found to be most hard-hitting. Depression is hitting me again. As I open my eyes again, all I see is darkness. Now, the reason I picked those lines is because I think this kind of sums up the entire lyrical elements to this song. We have some type of character here, I guess, or even the singer himself, going through a extreme depression where darkness itself has almost put a chokehold on them. And I find that to be very relatable. Now, again, unfortunately, I will not be going into huge great detail here as it is just me, so I won't be able to get into the super nitty gritty in all of this. But yeah, basically just the whole concept of how depression makes one feel trapped and, overall miserable just to be here. Existence is a void. Who will cry? Again, I'm just going to read off the concept that I thought was most relatable, and I'll expand on why I thought it was just generally awesome writing. While those I love have turned away, and if my best isn't good enough, what more can I give? Now, see, that is, again, another relatable element to why Funeral Doom is just one of the more better sounds and styles to write in. Because we could truly get into the deeper, darker elements of our being and mindsets when it comes to loss and grief. You know, I think that's what this song and the lyrics are kind of almost hinting at. Again, without having Terry here to help expand on these ideas, I am left to just almost ramble on in my own madness. Or maybe that's just what the music did to me. We shall never know. For You, I Die, the title track of this amazing album. I'm just going to read the lyrics that stood out to me. Dying from your embrace, taking my last breath, blood fills my lungs, my eyes roll back. Now, the reason that this particular part stood out to me was, again, it's so relatable in terms of when you lose someone, you have these like heavy emotions, these things that weigh on you. You go through all of these weird experiences that you can't quite explain. So, you know, the use of this, like, you know, metaphor of like blood fills my lungs, my eyes roll back as death is like, you know, embracing. We have similar feelings when we see someone die or know of someone die. We almost mimic their death. So with that said, it is a very powerful element here. We have the two sides of the emotion. The response of seeing someone or hearing of someone dying and almost mimicking that on the flip side. Again, I just think it's very powerful writing, and my god, do I wish Terry was here to help expand on this. Oh god. Alone. Again, just gonna straight up read the parts that stood out to me. I don't see a point to go on. Can anyone find me? Does anyone care? It is these points that, again, we are looking at someone who is asking for help. This is a, like, come help me. I feel as if I am worthless. I am useless. And these emotions creep up on us when we are faced with these elements of, you know, someone leaving in terms of death, or when we go through the mourning process. These types of things can and do affect us in way more of a uncertainty, that fear of constantly being let down by nature. Death has no remorse, and it's with these elements that I feel maybe in the end we are all alone. Powerful shit. And again, I just cannot wait for Terry to return. And again, she will in the next episode, guys. These things will not be as boring and as dry. I'm trying to make this as entertaining as possible. Scream of Silence. Like I've stated previously, I'm just going to read and explain a few bits and pieces. Protect me. With all my voice, I scream to you, protect me, as death whispers in my ear. This is the moment of death, at least from my understanding of the readings of these lyrics. This is someone wanting to be shielded from their fear of dying. This is the moment of death. And when we get to the artwork, I think that's what we're trying to get at here. So yeah, not too much to say about that. It's just a straightforward concept of this is someone's fear of death and dying, perhaps alone or with others around them, but from what I'm gathering, this is just someone wanting to not be afraid of dying. Fallen. Again, this is actually, lyrically, I can relate to this quite a lot, and the reason for this particular end of summer type reviews coming out is simply due to the fact that it's around this point in August that I myself lost my mother at a very young age, at least in my perspective. And with that said, I would like to read the following. When I was young, you were taken from me. My screams of pain no one hears. And this is, again, the loss of someone very close, like a family member, mother, father, brother, sister, that type of thing. I'm not going to dwell too much on it. I don't want to bore the listeners with my, emotional state right now. But I will say that on a side note, the song was written about John Suffering's father, and my condolences, my friend. I understand all too well. Void. Again, just going to simply read what it says and dive into it a little. A simple void. Is that what I've become? I live my life dying, unembraced, a void. Okay, so let's be honest, that's some heavy shit right there in the context of the lyrics. This is the end result of the mourning process, really. If you're not able to get past the 5 stages of grief, this is pretty much what you end up with. A void within yourself. You feel nothing. Artwork. Now, I'm not going to mince words. It is plain to see that what we are staring at here is pretty much the combination of what the lyrics are talking about. Death whispers in my ear, it takes my soul, all that kind of stuff. We're in a graveyard, we've got death. Representation of, one's own soul being taken, our miserable atmosphere. Black and white colour tones. As a first album cover, yeah, pretty cool. I would give it a 9.9 out of 10. Album scoring. Okay, so again, there's only one reason why it's not going to get a perfect 10 out of 10, and it is simply this. As someone who has grown up in Scotland, and we have a strange affiliation with a certain type of musical instrument, by now you should all have realised that is the bagpipes. I feel this album needed more bagpipes, but they are so fitting for funerals. It has become a staple in some cultures, especially over here in Scotland and in Ireland. With that said, the album overall comes in at 9.9 out of 10. Final thoughts. This is how you do a first album. Every note is dark and mournful, and a journey into the self-discovery of loss and grief. Each element is a staple to the legacy that Chalice of Suffering has created. Don't forget to check out their other mournful offerings, links in the description. Until next time, mourners, remember, every day is a funeral.